The Great North has always fascinated explorers. Since the beginning of time, these icy lands have represented a hostile yet mythical frontier, Septentrion, the extreme north. For this new expedition, Francis Le Guin and his crew head off on the trail of the fabled Viking navigators. Their journey will take them to Iceland and Greenland. Their goal? To discover just who these men were. How far north did they actually travel? Our story begins in the yellowed pages of a 13th century manuscript that tells the story of a legendary voyage, the saga of Erik the Red. It was around 860 AD that the Vikings ventured from Norway to discover a new land. The only inhabitants were a handful of Irish monks living as hermits, and the Vikings had no trouble conquering the island. They dubbed it Iceland, the land of ice. But it's a lush island that our crew discovers, with breathtaking scenery. Accompanied by their Icelandic guide Ingi, whose full name is Ingimundur Thor Thorsteinsson, the expedition sets off on a journey through time. First stop, the exact spot where the first Vikings landed at the southern tip of Iceland.
So this is where they first landed?
Right here. You feel it?
Yeah, I do.
You're a bit of a Viking, aren't you?
I might have some Viking blood.
It's not bad here.
No neighbors to bother us.
That's for sure.
The barren plains of black ash are evidence of the high level of volcanic activity on the island. Iceland boasts no fewer than 30 active volcanoes and countless caves.
So this was carved out by the sea, huh?
Yeah.
What sea? Where is it?
It's 3 kilometers away, my friend.
3 kilometers?
3 kilometers. Before there were boats and stuff.
And this is where they landed.
The real reason that brought Viking ships to the coasts of Iceland remains a mystery for historians. But legend has it they were exiles fleeing fratricidal conflicts and the tyranny of the King of Norway. Apparently, they set off in search of new lands to conquer. These caves, which used to be right on the water's shore, no doubt served as their initial place of refuge. Though fearless seafarers and infamously bloodthirsty barbarians, the Vikings were nonetheless frightened by the creatures they imagined lurking in the shadows. By the looks of their surroundings, they figured they had reached the realm of the gods, a world peopled with giants, trolls, elves, dragons, and underground snakes.
They say the gods kept dwarves here. You know, one of the 9 Viking worlds. The dwarves would come looking for gold and end up doomed to stay here. If they saw the light of day, they'd be turned into stone. Now there are dwarves everywhere.
The mysterious atmosphere of such a place no doubt spawned all sorts of beliefs.
Imagine this in the flickering light of torches. The legends, the dragon. There it is, I can see the dragon. That lava shaped like a rope. It looks like a dragon or a snake. They called it the snake of the world. It lived here before Odin threw it into the sea. We're in the kingdom of hell here.
In the bowels of the earth.
So when the Vikings landed on the beaches, didn't they live here? Didn't they stay in these caves?
Sure, there's a good chance they used caves like this everywhere, at first. But then later, they built houses.
So it's highly probable they stayed here.
Sure.
Ingi, I heard the mutton in Iceland is the best in the world. Is that true?
Ah, lamb.
An incredible place.
Right. We don't say enjoy your meal here. We call people to table and generally just say matul.
Matur.
That means food.
Fine with me.
No joke. It's pretty Viking. Food.
À manger, quoi.
This timeless cave could well be Odin's banquet room. And my thoughts turned to the gods of the sagas, creating the stars with a handful of sparks scattered from Muspelheim. We leave the superstitions and Viking gods behind and set off to meet the only actual reigning sovereign in Iceland, Mother Nature, queen of this realm. But before we can face her, we must first boost our strength by fueling up on the local delicacies. Did you try the dried fish, René?
It's like an edible straw mattress.
Codfish. Codfish that's been dried and salted.
Codfish. Yeah.
Our crew is about to climb one of the 4 biggest glaciers in Iceland, the Miðasjökull. This ice monster sprawls over nearly 600 square kilometers and inspires as much dread for Icelanders today as it did for the Vikings back then. Frequent eruptions of the volcano beneath it trigger extremely dangerous glacier outbursts that flood and destroy everything in their path, like a tidal wave. But the glacier also harbors astonishing secrets.
There's the legend. That's the inactive chasm that's advancing along with the glacier, right?
That's right.
The active ones are over there.
Right, the one up near the mountain.
And there's a volcano underneath.
Right, higher up, at 1400 meters.
So in other words, it's the same thing as in the Alps, with hot water springs and the heat from the volcano too.
Sometimes you can smell the sulfur.
You can smell it now.
That's right.
A blend of fire and ice, actually, that's pretty important in Nordic mythology. Ice fire.
That's where they meet, the Ginnungagap. We're in the Ginnungagap.
Ginnungagap, that's the word I was looking for. The chasm of the world, the origin of the world. Ginnungagap, the real Viking language, Icelandic, is Viking as it was spoken.
Okay, ready? Yeah. Ready. Oh,
Okay. To go.
no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And you can let go of this. It's a fully automatic brake. Það nú langt? Jummarnir það lítið mikið í.
Still can't see the bottom. I begin my descent down the 20-meter deep chasm under the watchful eye of 2 Icelandic glaciologists. I know there's no room for error. One false step could lead to a fatal fall. At the bottom, I find myself in a cavern on the floor of the glacier. Even if it looks stationary, I know it's moving. No time to dawdle.
The last one.
Yes! Voilà.
Come on, let's go. This is the climate of the past.
Yeah.
Snow's been piling up here for hundreds of thousands of years. Locked away in the ice are the traces of climatic conditions belonging to the different eras. A genuine treasure trove for scientists.
Look, that's the glacier in motion. You can see how it's moving.
It advances up to 150 meters per year.
If it moves all at once, it'll crush us.
That's right.
Where do these tunnels carved through the belly of the glacier lead to? The original fire? Who knows? But it's too risky to go any further. It's business best left to the gods.
Continuing westward, like the Vikings back in their day, our crew reaches the Singvetlia Plain. This was the home of the Viking Parliament, founded in 930, one of the oldest in the world. Viking chieftains gathered here to decide on the laws that would govern the country, and they couldn't have chosen a better spot. Despite their ignorance of geological phenomena, the powerfulness of this plain wasn't lost on them.
So, this is where the fault is, right?
Actually, it's a whole series of faults. There you've got the American plate, and over there, on the other side of the valley, is the Eurasian plate, and they're constantly drifting apart.
By a lot?
2 centimeters per year.
Per year?
Right here, you're standing on the biggest rift that exists, 16,000 kilometers, and Iceland is the only land to come out of it. It's the same story underwater.
Yeah, must be cold.
2 degrees.
What?
2 degrees.
You kidding?
You'll see.
Francis can't resist the urge to make a dive into the fault, at the very spot where 2 continents meet. A lake has formed between them, but because of the temperature of the water, the divers have to respect particular measures. They begin their long and tedious preparations. They need to use equipment adapted to extreme conditions that's been specially prepared for this dive. There's a chance that the equipment, like the divers, might not survive. The water in the rift comes from springs and is filtered through the volcanic ash, making it some of the purest and most transparent water in the world.
It's a rare privilege to dive down a tectonic fault, at the very spot where continental drift is taking place. Did this surprising geography also contribute to forging Viking beliefs? Did they know about this freshwater treasure and make it a sacred spot? Surrounded by columnar basalt, the fault seems to have no bottom. Perhaps it reaches all the way down to the center of the earth. To my left, Europe. To my right, America. A vertical journey between the old and new worlds, like the journey Erik the Red's son would later embark upon.
Despite their careful preparations and cutting-edge equipment, not everything goes smoothly. Francis' safety valve gets stuck open, meaning his bottles could be emptied in a matter of seconds.
You see that? I felt reluctant to go down, and I was right.
You're okay? Did it freeze?
Yeah, the valve froze. But did you see that? Like a sixth sense, I felt reluctant to go down. I had a bad feeling about it. We were going down, and then all of a sudden it froze. My teeth and sinuses and ears are killing me.
An hour in such freezing water is extremely draining on the human body. Despite their thick wetsuits, the divers are in a state of physical distress.
Okay.
Iceland is literally sliced in two by this fault. Each day, the two plates drift a little further apart. Lakes form in the gaps. Perhaps other manifestations of this movement of the Earth can be found. Despite their general state of exhaustion, the crew decides to continue exploring the island. After the icy waters of the lake, our adventurers now have to deal with unpredictable, boiling hot springs, geysers. When we see how violent and almost intolerable the environment is, Viking mythology, with its procession of vengeful gods and fairies, starts to make sense. Still, this hostile island, incessantly whipped by wind and rain, sculpted by fire, ice and rapids, is where the Vikings decided to make their home. But Iceland was also a land of exile. Erik the Red took refuge here with his family when they were forced to flee Norway. Henry Killian Albensen, an expert in Icelandic culture, leads the crew on the trail of this famous Viking.
Where'd they put their boats?
We think the sea was a lot higher than it is right now, and figure they probably had access to it directly.
So they were over there.
Right, they were ready to go on that side over there. There's his house. Welcome to the home of Erik the Red. This is how they built the houses back then, with as little material as possible.
I thought it'd be a little bigger.
It could have been, but they didn't have enough material.
There wasn't enough wood, it was precious.
Wood was too precious.
Oh, those famous Viking warriors. Actually, I think they were more merchants than warriors.
They were adventurers, great adventurers.
Explorers.
Adventurer explorers, that's true.
And this is where they slept, in these little beds?
Actually, 2 people slept in those beds.
2?
Yeah, to fight against the cold, and also to keep the body upright, because they thought that lying down meant a dead body. So they sat up, more or less, when they slept.
They were always ready to fight for their lives.
That's right. Always a sword in one hand and a pretty woman at their side if possible. That was pretty much the philosophy.
Or several women.
Or several women. Not usually, though.
It's great, you really feel it. So this is an identical reconstruction. Erik the Red was right here.
It was rebuilt according to the basic plans we found. What's important to realize is that all this wood was portable. The house comes apart.
They took their wood with them each time.
The IKEA principles got a history. The fact that they could dismantle it all meant they rebuilt their houses in each location.
And then he headed west.
He took the pieces of his house and tried his luck in the west, to try and settle in a new land, the famous Greenland.
Without even knowing if he'd ever come back.
A lot of them never came back. They paid for the adventure with their lives.
When Erik the Red finally reached the southern shores of Greenland in the summer of 986, he was accompanied by only 14 of the 25 ships he had left Iceland with. Our crew heads off on the trail of these adventurers, who are willing to give their lives to discover a promised land.
As we fly over these deserted lands, I try to imagine what it was like for those first explorers. Nicolas Dubreuil has joined us. He knows the region like the back of his hand and is one of the rare experts who speaks Inuit fluently. Can you imagine the Vikings saw this with their land skips, sails and oars?
Erik the Red baptized it Greenland in hopes of luring other settlers. But what the Vikings who came here discovered was a barren land of ice.
This was home to the second largest Viking settlement. So there's lots of ruins around here, waiting to be excavated.
And as the glacier retreats, we'll be discovering Viking sites as they were in the year 1000.
That's possible too.
It was warmer then, the topography hasn't changed much, but on the plains the ice has no doubt receded. Is that the archaeologists' camp?
Yeah, that's their camp. They're all there. Careful, it's slippery.
Sure is. Watch your hand.
Hello. My name is Francis Ogwen.
I'm Martin.
Happy to meet you, Martin.
Yeah, good to meet you. Excavation.
Archaeologists are just beginning to study Greenland's Viking population. But already we know the settlement here never got bigger than 4,000 people. The highly conservative Scandinavians insisted on maintaining the pastoral practices of their Norwegian ancestors, refusing to adapt their lifestyle to the harsh climate. Some of them were wise enough to head elsewhere in search of more hospitable land. Those who stayed perished, leaving no trace of their culture behind, unlike the Inuit, for whom we find perfectly preserved architectural ruins.
That way over there, you can see it.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of energy going into constructing this bridge.
Moss.
Summer moss from Labrador. See that? Smell this. It smells like rosemary.
Oh, yeah. These are quarries.
Right. You can see all the marks there.
What's this?
That was probably for an oil lamp. They carved all around like that. After, they removed the bottom and hollowed it out, so they could put chunks of silfat in. And then, they would use cotton grass to make wicks for heating.
If there's one, there's bound to be more.
Look at this one, you can really see it. You see how it's separated. It's been prepared, separated into two parts. A small part for the silfat and another bigger part on this side.
But why did they leave it like that, all prepared? What happened? Why'd they leave all of a sudden?
Historians today are fairly convinced that the disappearance of Vikings in these regions was due to climate change, a dramatic drop in temperatures around the year 1200. But before that, how did they live? To find out, our crew is going to attempt an excursion deep into a fjord to visit the ruins of a Viking village.
We're not going to make it at all. Impossible to get through. It's much too dangerous. We're going to have to try a different way, maybe directly over land.
The low tide makes it impossible to land, and our crew is forced to make their way on foot along the sides of the cliffs.
They picked a good spot,
Yeah.
an open stretch with a sea that was probably higher, and they could monitor every inch of the fjord. It's almost Polynesian, in fact. It's true that if it's 1,000 years old, it really is wonderfully preserved. Greenland, look. They were right. The epitome of a Greenland. What are these actually? Willows?
Arctic willow. Sorry. The door is on the other side. See how the stones are perfectly lined up?
The door should be over here. There it is. I see the lintel.
Did you see how thick the walls are?
Yeah, built to last. And it's lined up just as well as Machu Picchu. This isn't the only structure.
All around there you had the farm buildings.
Okay, there.
I think there were 5 or 6 buildings. It's really an amazing sight.
At any rate, it means our Vikings made it up this far, at least. Personally, I think they made it much farther, going up along the coast. That would be logical.
The main Viking trading posts were located at the southern tip of Greenland. But Francis is convinced that these ingenious adventurers headed north along the fjords and made it across the Arctic Circle. But how far did they actually get? Were their ships hefty enough to withstand the icebergs? The crew decides to continue their investigation in Disco Bay. This bay is home to the world's fastest moving glacier. It advances 19 meters per day and is the largest producer of ice in the entire northern hemisphere.
It's constantly moving, isn't it?
Especially up close, it could collapse at any moment. Look at that huge crack there.
Accompanied by Bo and Morton, 2 experts in this kind of extreme diving, the crew decides to explore the hidden face of an iceberg.
Okay, Francis, for diving the Arctic, there are several factors on the iceberg that we need to consider before diving on it. For example, the size, the composition, and how much of it is above water, how tall it is, mainly to determine if it's stable.
This one seems to be suitable, no?
This one is very suitable. Like you can see on the screen, we have done a measurement on it, on the screen.
In red, it's the underwater part.
The underwater part. We can't, of course, look at the bottom of it from underneath, but we can see that it has smooth sides, which is not going to break off, and which also indicates that it's pretty stable. And it's not too tall, it's got pretty soft shapes, and it doesn't have anything that is hanging out from one side to another that can fall down.
The main danger is when it explodes underwater?
Yeah, the main danger is either if it comes apart, like it explodes underwater because of the pressure that's inside the iceberg, or if it breaks apart over the water and some part of it comes down. So
anyway, it's risky.
Always risky. I mean, it's never completely safe to dive on an iceberg, but given the experience that we have, we can make it as safe as possible.
Okay, we'll try anyway.
Yeah.
Safety first, guys. Let's not try to go too deep. I told him 20 meters max.
The light, faintly filtering through the ice, makes it look like the iceberg is glowing from the inside. Underwater, the divers realize how big it actually is. 90% of it lies beneath the surface. What looks like just an ice cube up above can turn out to be a monster down below. Contact with the seawater at temperatures close to zero causes the iceberg to melt, creating an ephemeral architecture that is stunningly beautiful. And when a piece of ice breaks free, it drifts towards the light like a cloud floating in the breeze. Swimming in slow motion, numbed perhaps by the cold, an Arctic codfish leads the divers a little deeper. "20 meters down, Francis locates a dark cave in the side of the iceberg.
We enter a different world, a tunnel sculpted through the ice, where every now and then we're blinded by the mix of fresh and salt water. A strange, nearly mystical moment of purity. We cross an entire section of the iceberg before we find another way out towards the light. But drifting ice keeps us from reaching the surface. We need to find our way back to the open sea. It would be easy and dangerous to lose our bearings and get lost. Still, we can't resist lingering here and making the moment last. It's a world turned on its head.
Who knows how many Viking ships were trapped by the ice? How many men perished here? To find out if any of them actually survived, the expedition continues heading north, direction Baffin Bay. After journeying for several hours, the North Pole is just a hop, skip and a jump away. The crew arrives in the village of Kulorsuaq to look for any remaining clues of Viking culture. Here, the memory of the Vikings is alive and well. School children are taught the history of Erik the Red's son, who discovered America, or more precisely what is now Canada, after leaving Greenland around the year 1000. But history doesn't say what happened to those who stayed behind. Did they learn from the Inuit how to hunt walrus, narwhals, seals, and even polar bears? Long before the current era, the Inuit have been perpetuating these traditions in Arctic regions. Seal hunting might seem inhumane to Westerners. The endearing creature with puppy dog eyes has in fact become a poster child for international ecological associations. But there's nothing cruel about this ancestral tradition that's been handed down over the centuries. Even today, seals are the main staple of the Inuit diet, without endangering the survival of the species in the least.
Wow, the fat is pink like a milkshake.
Not a single part of the animal goes to waste. The skin, meat, fat, and even bones are either eaten or used for other purposes.
This is their only source of vitamins and oligo-elements because all they eat is fat and meat. And this is what gives them a balanced diet. Guess you get used to it after a while. It's rustic, that's for sure.
The expedition continues as the crew boards the Duda Lasso, a boat which formerly belonged to the National Police and has since been converted into a small icebreaker. Titus, its captain, knows the area and its risks like the back of his hand. On an earlier expedition, he even saved Nicola from drowning when he broke through the ice. In the middle of the icebergs, Francis is about to meet a lone hunter who incessantly scours the icy expanses in search of prey.
Is that your friend?
Yeah, we're going to see Peter.
Peter Arunsen.
Right, Peter Arunsen. We're going to see what he's up to.
Francis and Nicola can't reach Peter in the boat. The only way to navigate through the ice is by kayak.
Hallo Peter. Ayungi. So, krieglit mani, sikumi.
Francis.
You're well known.
He's got something to show us.
Nearby?
Not too far, about 2 hours by kayak.
Oh, for them that's nearby. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Peter takes the two men on a tour of his stomping ground. They skim across the surface of the water in a silence interrupted only by the tiny splash of their oars. Francis and Nicola discover the local inhabitants, a unique endemic wildlife. It's a magical spectacle they have the rare fortune of enjoying. Back on the Duda Lasso, the crew is already preparing the next expedition.
What does that mean, Savi Civic?
Savi Civic. Savik means knife and Vik means place, the place they make knives.
Savik civic.
Francis is convinced that one Arctic summer's day, the Vikings headed north, just as he's doing now. But how to know for sure? What evidence would offer proof of such a journey? Could the Vikings have discovered the North Pole well before the 19th century explorers? After 3 days of navigation, the island of Savisivik finally appears. Perhaps this is where Francis will find answers to all his questions.
Remember, the water's 0 degrees. How long did you say it takes to die in water like that?
3 minutes.
Oh, great. And on land with wet clothes?
5.
No problem, we've got time.
You get a choice.
You've said it.
The crew tries to land, but it's not easy without a dock. The children greet them with curiosity and giggles. It's a meeting between two worlds, no doubt just like 1,000 years ago when the Vikings sailed up through these waters.
Voilà, il y a un chien, ouais.
While metal was still unknown everywhere else, the Inuit had already been using iron weapons for ages. One of the village inhabitants made a recent discovery that might provide an explanation for this.
Elle est là.
Wow, it's incredibly heavy. I've been waiting a long time for this, a really long time. Do you know the story? A huge meteorite fell here 10,000 years ago.
It's all carved out like the icebergs. It's funny.
Yeah. Icebergs from space. We need to find an elderly person who can tell us stories about this. For a shamanic people, can you imagine? Finding metal that fell from the sky and making weapons with it? That must have really left an impression on them.
Determined to explore the area where the meteorite supposedly fell, our adventurers reboard the Duda Lasso along with a new crew member. Aku is one of the village elders. He's considered a sage and knows each and every inch of this icy world. He leads our crew to the place where American explorer Robert Edwin Peary spent years trying to reach the North Pole. Peary heard about the meteorite in 1894 when he was living with Eskimos and trying to adapt to the difficult conditions of Arctic life. From that day on, he never gave up trying to find it. This is the exact spot where Peary found not one, but 3 meteorites.
There's the impact. Exactly the size of the meteorite in New York. No crater, though. The biggest meteorite that ever fell to Earth.
It took 3 years and 2 trips for Peary and his men to bring the biggest piece back. The 31-ton chunk is on display in a museum in New York. Several expeditions have since been led here, and numerous other smaller meteorites have been found. Francis thinks there are still more fragments. Maybe they're lying underneath the water.
They're covered up by the water now.
Yeah, big.
Apparently it was right on the edge. Maybe if you could dive a little further out.
It'd be a question of luck, but...
The divers decide to give it a go. Besides, there's a mysterious shipwreck right around the same spot. Maybe it'll turn out to be a Viking ship.
The ghostly ship emerges from the icy shadows. A wooden wreck that has nothing to do with the Vikings. No doubt one of the countless casualties in the battle with icebergs. Today, the sunken ship has become home to peculiar creatures that look half animal, half plant, and seem to have adapted to the dusky waters. It's an Arctic ecosystem that's highly unfamiliar. No doubt we're the first divers to ever venture here. Wolffish on the prowl, or crabs armored in their shells. Each species here is different from anything I've seen anywhere else. Right down to the red seaweed that no doubt takes fast advantage on the brief summer light to proliferate before winter comes to seal it beneath a layer of ice. The twilight of winter approaches. Soon, the only sun that'll be left here is the starburst of the anemones.
From one clue to the next, over the course of the expedition, Francis has managed to track the path the Vikings took. Their presence is everywhere, from the black ash plains in Iceland to the bowels of the earth and ice. Francis is now in the north of Greenland. Perhaps he'll find more elements. Can he hope to discover more evidence to support the theory of a Viking journey this far north? To put his doubts to rest once and for all, we head to one last destination on our journey. On their way back, the crew decides to stop off in a ghost town in search of one final clue. Broken windows and abandoned houses, the place has an end-of-the-world feel about it. Miles and miles from any civilization, no one lives here anymore. No one, or else just about. The silence is pierced by the barking of dogs, making the place seem even more dismal. But it's also a sign that not every living creature has deserted the town. One single inhabitant remains, keeper of the memory of the Vikings. This is the man Francis has come to see. He might hold the final hopeful clue.
Hi Peter.
Welcome to shop.
Francis.
Thank you. Satan. Satan.
You live alone here.
Yes, Peter Nicholas.
Peter has a treasure, a stone, but not just any stone, a stone covered in runes, Viking writing. We, Erling Sigvardsson, Bjarni Thordarson, and Enridi Oddsson, reached this cairn on the Saturday before Rogation Day. This engraved stone is one of the northernmost traces of the Vikings' passage. As far back as the 10th century then, these amazing adventurers were pushing the frontiers of the known world. They were the first Westerners to venture this close to the Great North.
Our journey between the lines of the sagas draws to a close. The essence of the Vikings seems clearer to me now, after having traveled the same routes they once did. Still, the texts don't say anything about what became of them. The mystery remains. But that's another story, another expedition, perhaps.